place. I don't know if you feel the same at this point, looking at the many disgruntled Ghanaians who feel that all those promises that were made to them years ago before Nana Addo Dankwa, President, His Excellency, became president, well, they feel those promises have not been fulfilled largely. So I don't know how you'd react to this song, but well, the NPP says that they're gearing up to break the 8, and already the regional elections have held. Some chairmen, secretaries, and vice chairs retained their seats. Others, unfortunately, lost their seats and gave way to new leaders as well. And so we're going to be crossing over to the various regions to our correspondents to update us on what exactly happened in all the regions. And so, in fact, if we're in the Greater Accra region, of course, which is where we're operating from, let's start off with Stanley Nibble to update us on how it all went down, that 3-day elections that went down in the Greater Accra region to elect the NPP regional executive. Stanley, good morning.
Good morning, Bella.
I hope you're doing well.
Sure.
All right. So tell us exactly how things went down in the Greater Accra region. I know that there were some challenges here and there, but regardless, we're here. What really happened?
So actually, I would describe what happened at the Greater Accra regional conference as largely peaceful, but the chaos that ensued around 2:10, that was about 50 minutes for the polls to get to a close. That was when the chaos started, and it was all because when TESCON representatives were asked to come and cast their ballots, there was a doubt about their credibility. I mean, the names submitted for them to come and vote. So it generated a lot of chaos, which resulted in fisticuffs. People they were fighting among themselves, and it was very, very chaotic. In the course, we had some of the journalists filming the incident being attacked.
Stanley, you have to unmute yourself. I think there's been a bit of a challenge with your sound. And so if you can unmute yourself. Awesome.
Yes,
carry on.
For instance, so I had a call. That was why it's
okay.
So great. So I was attacked from behind, and then the phone that I was using to film, they nearly smashed the phone because they think we, the journalists or the cameramen filming the chaotic incident, actually trying to paint a different picture about the NPP, and so they were not happy about we filming, and so that was how come they attacked that. They attacked me. They attacked a cameraman from Joy News. They attacked good. So he had a lot of people, or I would say he was attacked by a mob, because it took the intervention of the police personnel to encircle him before he was saved. And so
he was
this
being
was what
attacked
happened.
for what exactly? For filming?
Yes, we were attacked for filming the chaotic incident. They didn't want the incident to go out there, that maybe the NPP it's violent or something. So that was how come they attacked the pressmen trying to film the chaotic incident. In the morning, the exercise delayed. It was supposed to start around 9 a.m., but it was delayed by more than 2.5 hours. It started around 11:40 thereabout, and so for the delegates, they were not enthused about the entire process.
Okay.
And then the aspirants were not enthused because
Okay.
But the album that's supposed to that was supposed to be used for the exercise came in better at a point. But when it came in, the issue officials thought that at the end of the day, a successful or a peaceful electoral process.
Okay. Well, quick one before I move on even to the Ashanti region. So tell us about this win and lose relationship between the one who was re-elected, Divine Otuagohum, and Alfred Boy, because we know that back in 2018, Divine was able to beat Alfred Boy to become the chairman. Then there was a loss at a point, and then Alfred now became the chairman. Tell us a bit about that briefly before we move on to the other region.
Okay, we know this is an internal election, but it was keenly contested.
Yeah.
In the previous election, Alfred Divine Otu beats Alfred Boy with a margin of 7 votes. And this time around, he was able to, the votes dropped to 6 with a 6 votes margin. And so, before the exercise commences, Alfred Boy's message to the delegates was that they should try him because he's the man to help the party capture the Greater Accra region and then build it up. Because they should because the incumbent, who is Divine Otu, has not performed to satisfaction, and so they should try to repose confidence in him, Alfred Boy, so that he would recapture Accra and build it. And then Divine Otu's message was that he is already working. He's the man working. He has been given the job to do. And so he was confident that he was able to win a seat like Amasaman constituency, the NPP. It is a seat that is mostly being won by the NDC. And so he has been able to this time around snatch it from the NDC. So he's the man to do the job. And so they should endorse his second term bid. And that was how come he emerged victorious over Alfred Boy.
All right, let's move on now to William Evans Inkum from the Ashanti region. It was one of the regions that was keenly contested, one of the regions that was most talked about, especially because of the incumbent who was predicted by pollster Ben Efsin to likely lose his position as chairman of the region for the NPP. Well, interestingly, Chairman Wuntumi emerged winner, but there had been a lot of discrepancies, a lot of grievances being shared by some party members as well, which is why a number of people thought that he was not going to retain his seat. But he says that regardless of the propaganda, NPP is going to break the 8. William, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Bella.
How was the elections overall in the Ashanti region?
Well, a mixture of so many things, tension, euphoria, and of course, at a point in time, there was some level of stalemate as far as the election was concerned. The euphoria, built up just an entrance to the main stadium where the election was being held. People were already enjoying themselves. There were others who also were in, heated argument, with regards to who is likely to win the chairmanship position. That was the most attractive one, among the 10 positions that were being vied for by 39 aspirants. The chairmanship was the most attractive one. So a whole lot of euphoria and tension was surrounding that particular position. Nonetheless, it was very smooth, but for the issue of the Tescon album as to whether it should be allowed to be used or otherwise, generated some level of tension. At a point in time, there was this invocation of deity by one of the serial callers, Kwabena Nyame, with regards to the Tescon album. It took the intervention of the Member of Parliament for Bantama constituency and also the Minister for Works and Housing, Asan Subuachi, to at least douse any escalation. Eventually, it was not used, and then the few constituencies that were allowed to take part in the exercise, they had their polls or their ballots counted. Bella.
There was also that concern about the elections being moved There were three options: the stadium, the RCC as well, the regional minister moving it to the RCC, and that also incurred the wrath of many of the delegates who were there to vote as well. Tell us about that.
Not only delegates, but I can tell you that I saw messages of some ministers who had also expressed dissenting views with regards to the RCC being used as the grounds for the election. I mean, the fact that this particular election was great attention and all of that, they wouldn't want to take any chances. So why don't you move it to a bigger place where, I mean, certain situation can be contained? Eventually, I think it makes sense to the regional minister, who happens to be the chairman of the election committee here in the Ashanti region, and eventually it was moved. The date, of course, was also changed, because the original date was Friday 27th, but it was changed. It was changed because some certain albums were not ready. Don't forget that on the night of Friday, on the night of Thursday, we reported that two constituencies were still not certain as to whether they won't be able to take part, I mean, in the exercise. We're talking about Swami constituency and then Fija Setre East constituency. The album were not complete, so it was very uncertain as to whether they'll be able to take part. But by Friday night, I mean, the corrections have been effected, and so they were able to take part. Jabin constituency were removed at the 11th hour. That was after somebody had enchanted, the party member had enchanted that particular constituency. Then, of course, there was also an issue of the member of parliament for Tafo constituency, Vincent Asifua, who had threatened that he will physically prevent some appointee from voting, because according to the constitution of the NPP, it has to take the member of parliament together with some executives of the party within the constituency to appoint, I mean, a constituency executive. Don't forget that 10 people are supposed to be elected. Then another 7 who will support the 10. So every constituency was supposed to present 17 delegates. But in his case, he claimed that the other 7 people, after the election, the other 7 people who were appointed were done without aid. So he has, I mean, went to the court to secure some restraining order, I mean, preventing these guys from voting. But eventually, I want to believe that it took Matthew Opoku-Pempenako to prevent Asifua from carrying out the threat, because I quite remember right after my exclusive interview with him, we went to Napo's house and I didn't find him at the stadium, or I didn't see him at the stadium again.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the 5 people who contended for the chairmanship position. Of course, that was the most popular on the day. There were 4 others who were contesting Chairman Wontumi. Looking at the fact that there were a lot of people who had shared their grievances, Poster Ben Efson had also predicted that what broke the camel's back was the fact that the party office had been locked up by the landlady, who said that for 3 years they had not paid her. And so that was it for the chairman. And so it was likely that even because of just that, away from all the other issues that people had, he was going to lose his position. Also on the back that another person who was contending him for that position is someone who had been a chairman in one of the constituencies for over a decade. So he was also loved by many. How did it go down?
So let me even give you the figures, and it speaks for itself. We are talking about Bernard Nchibo-Esiako, who garnered some 464 votes. The next person on the ballot was Edumbewa, who, of course, I think Asaredi Akon had some 22 votes. Then Koka Chairman Odeniko Kwapia, who was the former constituency chairman for Edumbewa South, also having 306 votes. The former member of parliament for Edoso had 9 votes, and Edumbewa sadly had only 3 votes. So clearly, it was a competition between Koka and then Wontumi. Now, Wontumi's nemesis, of course, has to do with what you earlier mentioned, the fact that he was not able to erect a party office or a regional party office for the constitution, for the region. That was the only thing that was going against Muntumi. But they thought that Muntumi was showing opulence, was showing luxury, was showing money. So how come, with all this money, you are unable to build a party office for the region? That was his only problem. But when it comes to his charisma, he driving, the vote as far as the Ashanti region is concerned, I think it was something that they think that a lot of delegates thought that he has really performed well. But for the fact that he was unable to build a party or regional party office for the region was something that was always going to go against him. But what changed at the end of the day? A lot of things happened a night before the election. A lot of consultation, a lot of begging, telling people that, look, I know that I didn't do well as far as this particular aspect of the whole narrative is concerned, but give me another chance and I'm going to prove to you that indeed I have something good within me. So people began to look beyond the fact that he was unable to build a regional party office for the NPP, which is the stronghold as far as the Ashanti region is concerned. But the fact that he's able to even appreciate votes in nominal figures is something that we can solely rely on, especially when we want to break the eight. And that one did the trick or did the magic for him.
I see. Interesting. Well, let me move on now to the Bono region. Larry Pakwesi Moses is on standby as well. There was also some misunderstanding that took place following the injunction on 3 constituencies to not allow them to vote. But the party regional election head said that he had not received any or had not been served any notice from court indicating that those 3 constituencies could not vote. So even though the Electoral Commission had prevented those 3 from voting, he still went ahead and allowed them to vote. And eventually we're told that Abronya DC retained his position as chairman, along with other, offices as well that people had to retain or lose. Tell us more about that, Larry. Larry, can you hear us? Okay. Maybe we'll move to Yvonne Ikwe now and talk about it.
Hello, Bella.
Larry, okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yes, I can also hear you now. Yes, as you rightly said, Bella, everything was smooth in my end here. At my end, it was smooth in the morning until when we started the voting. Initially, we have 12 constituencies in my region. That's the Bono region. But the Electoral Commission said they had received injunction to 3 constituencies even before the election started. They had received injunction. That is Sunyani East, German South, and then Doma Central. So they only allowed 9 constituencies to, as it were, exercise their franchise. Now, they ended their polls at the 9th constituency because they had received injunction to the 3 constituencies.
Okay.
We thought, or the media thought, we were going to see the counting from the Electoral Commission, only for us to see improvised ballot boxes from the chairman of the election committee, Kobina Opon. I asked him why this improvised ballot boxes, and he told me that they were also going to have the 3 constituency election. And I said, wow. But elections are run by the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission are saying they have finished with their work and they are about to sort and then do the counting. So why this balance? No. As far as he is concerned, as the chairman of the election committee, he has not received any injunction to those constituencies. So he is going to allow those constituencies, the 3 constituencies, to vote. And that brought a lot of argument. I mean, we have to halt the process for minutes. I mean, we halted the process, and the Electoral Commission also packed their electoral materials because they had finished with the 9 constituencies. Then we saw a new album by the election committee chairman, Kobina Opon, mentioning the names of those 3 constituencies to form a queue and then come and vote. So we saw them voting. And it brought a lot of confusion. It was a mixed reaction. Whilst others are saying that the chairman of the election committee is right by saying he has not received the injunction, so he will allow those people to vote. Others too were of the view that no, once injunction has been placed on the election and it has been even reported widely within the media, they should go by the Electoral Commission's decision, not to run those 3 constituencies. But the chairman was adamant and he said, no way. Once his committee has not received any injunction to that effect, they will go ahead and run the election. So they ran the election all right. And the Electoral Commission also declared his result, official result for the 9 constituencies. And Abronye, that is Kwame Bafo DC, popularly known as Abronye DC, had 126 there. And then his main contender, Rashid Kolambik, had 80 at the Electoral Commission. Then the one run by the party, Kwame Abronye, also had 80 there. And then the Rashid Kolambik had 4. Okay. So in all, when you add all, it's about 173 for Kwame Abronye and then 84 for Rashid Kolambik. But I saw something unique happen. Immediately after the Electoral Commission declared Abronye the winner, I saw his contender going to hug him and then to congratulate him, telling him that he has considered defeat. Because officially, it is the Electoral Commission who was supposed to run the election. And once the Electoral Commission had declared Abronye 126 against 80, he has to go and then congratulate Abronye. So he did that. He didn't even wait for the party's results to be announced. He only listened to the official result from the Electoral Commission. So that's what happened. And I spoke to some delegates. They said, no, once the party has spoken, who are they to challenge or to go to court and challenge whatever? So they are poised for breaking the 8 in 2024. So they will be working with Chairman Abronye and the other elected executives to make sure that they break the 8.
What happens? What happens to these 3 constituencies? Is there going to be a time where they'll be allowed to at least even vote at all?
Bella, the issue is still in court. I think next week they'll be headed to court again, and we'll be following it. Now that they have voted, I even asked one of the executive. Now that they have voted, does it mean that these are executives from the constituencies? Because they are saying that according to the rates they sent to court, when you read the reliefs, they are saying their election was not properly done. So they don't recognize them as constituency executives. Now that they have come to vote, does it confirm that they are now constituency executives? But they are saying that once the matter is still in court, we'll know what will happen when they go to court.
All right, let me move on now to the Ashanti region. Yvonne Nikwe is also on standby. That also came, Eastern region, pardon me, I did say Ashanti earlier. Eastern region, Yvonne Nikwe will be updating us on what happened. Of course, Jeffrey Konedu has won the chairmanship. In fact, he was the party secretary for the region, and we're told that he had the backing of, the Minister of State in charge of security, Brian Champon, as against his opponents, who also had the backing of Gabi Otre Darko. And so it was as if 2 big giants were going against each other. Let's see how that also played out. Yvonne, can you hear us?
Yes, Bill, I can hear you.
Awesome. Please update us on how it also went down in the Eastern region.
Well, like my other colleagues have said, it was largely peaceful and very interesting as well. As you just rightly mentioned, it became a battle of which block you were coming from, whether you were coming from a Kweu enclave or you were coming from an Achim enclave backed by Gabi Otre Darko, and then Brian Champo, who is currently the MP for the Abetifi constituency. And then after the day, Jeffrey Konedu Ado won the race with 424 votes against the new Jabin North chairman, who quickly came up to contest the position for the chairmanship as well. The Eastern region election was quite an interesting one because weeks before this election, people felt that they knew clearly who was going to win. Until a week to the election, people changed their mind on whichever position they were going. And then the big rigs came in to support their own to win. Be mindful of the fact that the Eastern region is one of the regions that give the NPP a lot of votes. And so whoever comes in to become the chairman or any of the executive needs to be proved and probably be accepted by people who matter in this region. Largely, people felt that a number of them had worked at the grassroots and deserved to win. And so it wasn't surprising many who saw Jeff won. They were hopeful that in the 2024 elections, they would do better. Mind you, again, this region is where the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, comes from. And so the battle for the 2024 2024 elections would be any new candidate they put up, but the legacy would have left before going. But now, for the shock is the one for the women organizer. Patti Bondoli was expected to win that race, but unfortunately, the shock came her way. She lost by just about 3 votes. And then the new person, Mercy Amodakon, took that position from her. So really, for all those who won were people who had old positions coming up for bigger positions, and then a few or a handful of people entering the race.
We're told that there's a security guard whose actions almost marred the peaceful elections that took place in the eastern region. Did you notice that, and what exactly happened?
Well, the election was largely peaceful. Of course, there are a number of tension, a bit of tempest flying up as people should enter the hall or even get nearer to where the voting was taking place. If we were not mandated to go and close to that place, or a delegate who was voting, we were not allowed to enter. Beyond the official police people who were on site, inside the room and outside, the party also had their own people, the security people who were having to work for them, and then some of the candidates as well. And so, yes, there were pockets of tensions coming up, but that was not anything overwhelming that they could not handle for the day. The only concern for the party hierarchy was the delay that occurred. For 3 hours, they didn't turn up to the hall to ensure that the proceedings take place. Exactly what was keeping them from not coming, nobody knew. But at last, we observed that it was one of the lobbying techniques that a lot of the candidates resort to ensure that they're having the last word to the delegates before they get into the hall to vote.
I see. Well, thank God that it was peaceful generally. Let's go to the northern region now, and Chris will also update us on what happened there. We're told the chairman and the organizing secretary also retained their positions. Good morning. Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you, Bella.
Okay, carry on. Tell us what happened.
Yes, so as said by my colleagues from the other regions, the northern region was no exception. There were some pockets of confusion that characterized the regional executive elections. You talk about some arrests, some party supporters were picked up by police because the police had earlier indicated that they would not allow anyone without accreditation entry to the election premises. And these people, we are told, sneaked into the Aldumama Sports Stadium where the election took place the night before the election. So they were hiding in the stadium. Then later, when the process began, they had to come out. And the police realized that when they were moving around checking accreditation to know who is supposed to be at the stadium, they realized that these 6 people did not have accreditation. So immediately they picked them up and sent them to the regional police headquarters. And Bella, I must say that after the election, this triggered some sort of confusion in the Tamale metropolis because some youth took to the street and were burning lorry ties and burning other party materials to register their frustration. Another confusion that took place was the fact that the 10 TESCON members who were supposed to vote in that election were denied the right to vote because with the list the election committee had as delegates from the TESCON fraternity, there was another list that came in later indicating that they were also delegates. So there was confusion which had to stall the election for close to some 2 hours before the chairman of the election committee, who doubles as the member of parliament for the Karaga constituency, that is Dr. Mohammed Amin Anta, came in with a resolution that all 10 TESCON members will not be allowed to take part in that election. And that actually was the case. They did not vote in that election. And Bella, prior to the elections, the issue of tribal politics was the center stage of the campaigns, because the incumbent chairman and the retained chairman, that is Chairman Mohammed Adam Bantima Samba, hails from the Northeast region. And Bella, he actually voted in the 2018 referendum that saw the creation of the Northeast and Savannah regions from the Northern region. So the politics was that once voted, once you are from that region, move back to the region and contest. But the issue is that he had the right to contest the election anywhere, because he has lived almost all his life in Tamale. He has a house in Tamale and he's in Kumechama, so he had to run the election. So despite that campaign coming from the opposition side, he still went ahead to win with over 100 votes. And even before that, you saw prominent personalities. You talk about the MPs caucus, all 9 MPs, most of them supporting the incumbent chairman. I can talk about the MP for Yendi, Farouk Ali Umama, who left Accra to join the campaign trail to get the incumbent chairman all the votes he needed. So aside the 2 issues of the TESCON members not voting and the arrest, the election, I must say, was peaceful.
I see. Well, and we do hope that peace will also be maintained in the region as well. Very unfortunate happenings there, but those are correspondents, of course, updating us on what exactly happened on the ground in the various regions. I mean, Chris, you're not gone yet. Let me just ask you this quickly.
Yes.
If you look at the situation on the ground, if you sample the opinions of party members and even regular Ghanaians on the street, the NPP is optimistic that they're breaking the 8. What are people saying on the ground? Are party executives and members happy with how things have been in the last 6 years?
Yes, so for party big wigs or stakeholders, talk about the people who matter in the party, the leadership of the party in the Northern region. For them, they are very happy because the NPP and the NDC now have equal seats in parliament. The Northern region has 18 constituencies, and NPP has 9, NDC 9. And they're hopeful that if they get the presidential primaries that will be taking place, after that, if they're able to mobilize themselves and come together as one people, they will be able to win more seats in the Northern region. That is what they are saying. Party supporters are also of the view that the new executives should bring on board those who lost the election. And as a result of that, the executives who won this recent elections have started patching some differences with their opponents who lost in that election. Yesterday, the newly elected chairman Samba visited the home of the closest opponent, that is, who is known as the Gomba boy Alaji Amadu Inusa. He visited him and they had some talk about how to move the party forward. So the NPP in the region are hopeful that they want to join hands together to break the 8, but that will depend on how they are able to mobilize themselves, how they are able to ensure unity amongst the party. But Bella, what I just wanted to add is that, you know, I also report for the 2 other regions, that is the Northeast and the Savannah regions. I won't be fair to these regions if I don't also talk about how the elections
Carry on, and apologies for that.
So you talk about the Savannah region. In fact, you know, that is the region of former President John Dramani Mahama, who we are told will be contesting the 2024 general elections again. And so they need a front that will be able to break the NDC in that region. Remember, in 2016, the NPP had 1 seat in the Savannah region. And though it was still Northern region, but they had 1 seat after the split. Now, in 2020, the NPP was able to penetrate to get 3 seats. That's 2 in addition to the 1 they had in 2016. So they now have 3 seats out of 7 seats. So the NDC is leading them by just 1 seat. So this election, incumbent chairman Chairman Idris Suleiman, popularly known as Chairman Calimonia, won the election with a huge margin. That is to say that the delegates gave him the opportunity again because he was able to win some more seats for them in the region. The NPP, Nana Akufo-Addo, also appreciated his figures from 2016 to 2020. In 2016, he had about 51,000 votes, and in 2020 election, he had about 81,000 votes. So you can tell why they have to give the chairman the second term to do his work. So it was peaceful. The entire process was very peaceful. Now, in the Northeast region as well, the incumbent chairman won, the incumbent secretary won, and other executives retained their seats. So aside the Northern region, where we have some arrests and some TESCOM members not voting, the two newly created regions didn't have those issues. The election was peaceful, everything went on smoothly, and the winning team won the election.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Evans, are you still online? Evans, are you still there? Well, I think that we've lost other correspondents as well. But thank you so much, Chris, for speaking to us this morning and apprising us on what happened in the various regions as well. Eric, let's go to the Western region now. And Eric is going to also let us know exactly what happened. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Bella.
All right. So what can you tell us?
Thank you very much. So for us here in the Western region, the elections were quite uneventful. You know, Western region prides itself as with the mantra that the best comes from the West, and it was heavily expressed in Saturday's election. If you look at ours, the regional chairman, this year went unopposed. And to many, it was quite surprising considering the fact that the last election under his stewardship, the NPP party dropped some NP seats. And even in his own backyard, Jomlo constituency, where he comes from, he was not able to deliver that seat. So people were so surprised that he went unopposed. Prior to Saturday's election, months to that election, we had the name of the former member of parliament for Shama, Atop Hanford, to the extent that his posters were flying all over. But at the Burton, it was only in the Desia whose name came up as going for the chairmanship race. So that was a lot. That was what many were surprised about, considering his performance in the last general election. Another factor that probably also contributed to the fact that the election was highly peaceful was the fact that prior to Saturday's event, the election committee went heavy on reconciliation efforts. I mean, if you look at the aspirants, about 60 or 70 of them had contested in previous elections, so they knew each other, and the election committee was able to, as it were, talk to them to the extent that you had some of the aspirants even together joining the campaign to some of the various constituencies. So yes, it was very, very uneventful to the extent that, I mean, at a point in time, some of the journalists were even sleeping. If you look at how the voting went, 5 of the incumbents retained their seats and 5 of them lost their position. So, for instance, if you look at the first vice chairman, the incumbent first vice chairman, he lost his seat. The second vice chairman, who had attempted to be the first vice chairman, also lost his seat. The assistant secretary, who had also attempted the substantive position, also lost his seat. The women's organizer, it was a good shocker because if you look at the incumbent Abna Kuala, she was all over, so she was widely and heavily tipped to be retained, but unfortunately she lost that position. Again, another shocker was the regional organizer. I mean, it was very shocking because after the ballots were counted, you could sense some level of tense in the auditorium. That's all doing, that all knowing, that all over Abdul Ghani, popularly known as the bulldozer, lost that seat to Bennett, that seat to his challenger, Amwabin. In the last election, these two people contested each other, and the bulldozer won. So it was a sweet revenge, if you will, for the new person.
Okay.
And so that's how ours went. So it was so uneventful, Bella.
I mean, if we talk about unity within the party, we've seen the cracks that have fallen into the party. But yesterday, the General Secretary spoke and he said that they have restructured the party, put in some mechanisms to ensure that, they can get together and break the eight. Do you see a semblance of that in the Western region in terms of the members of the NPP executive?
When the ballots were the last ballots was counted and the winners emerged, I didn't see any of the losers around. It was only after we had left the auditorium, we tried getting some interviews that we saw some of the losers around. But normally after a contest of such nature, you want to see both the winners and the losers embracing each other. I mean, extending their leaves to each other. But I didn't see that. But this morning, I've been monitoring the radio stations, and most of the losers have expressed their desire to join the new executives to ensure that the party will win back some of the seats that they lost to the NDC in the 2020 general election. So, yes, I want to believe that going ahead, we are going to see both the winners and the losers working together to ensure that, as they say, they will be able to break the eight. I mean, before the process started, the national campaigns manager, Peter McMahon, was also heavy on the reconciliatory efforts. The fact that a lot of people are watching, and if they are desirous of wanting to break the eight, then it should exhibit in what it should show in what happens after the exercise. So I want to believe that they're going to forge together to ensure that, like they say, they'll be able to break the eight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Eric, for speaking to us. Eric is our correspondent from the Western region. We've been taking a look at how the regional elections for the NPP executives went down. We do know that eventually the national elections will also take place. But the General Secretary of the party, Mr. John Boydu, says that, yes, his team will be announcing officially his interest in running again for General Secretary. And tomorrow, the team will be announcing officially and opening nominations for persons who want to contest at the national level as well. So let's wait and see how that goes. Of course, we know that when it comes to his position, Mr. Charles Bissey already has stated clearly his intentions to compete against him. Who else will be stating the intentions for the other positions as well? Well, let's wait and see. This is TV3 Newday, and before we take a quick break, join us this November for a Qatar tour. It will cost you just 16,200 Ghana cedis per person on single occupancy. And if you want to share, then that will cost you 13,100 Ghana cedis per person. It involves or includes a return ticket, 8-night stay at a hotel, daily breakfast, visa assistance, desert safari, the Dow Cruise dinner, North of Qatar tour, airport transfers. All taxes will be taken care of as well. And so if you're interested and you want more information, please contact Global Wings Travel and Tours Limited on 055-3688-398 or 054-100-4130. You can also visit their offices inside the UDS Guest House, adjacent the Police CID Headquarters, Cantonment, Accra, or inside the Seniors Clubhouse, first floor, University of Cape Coast. Remember, terms and conditions apply. We have more coming up. We'll be talking about happenings within Parliament. Remember that they resumed sitting last week and a number of issues have cropped up. And so we'll talk about all of that and more when we get back. This is TV3 Newday. Keep watching.